Are you one of these people that have yo-yoed with your weight up and down through your life? I know I used to. And I'm glad to say now that it's I used to, because I figured out certain things for my own body. But so many people in their lives, gain 10 pounds, lose 10. Maybe then they turn around, they yo-yo back up to 20. And it's just so unhealthy. But today, that's what we're going to be talking about. Nicole, how are you doing today?
Well, when I woke up and realized it was November 1st already,
I know.
so we know if it's gone, this whole year has gone so fast. November with the holidays is going to fly by. December is going to fly by. And then we're going to be in 2024. And it boggles my mind. And it's like, I feel like I have so much that I have to compact into these next 2 months to get finished. So I kind of have I was working on it before I jumped on here, and I'm like, I've got butterflies in my stomach. It's like, I've got to get this stuff done. But it just, the thought of 2024, that's crazy, Glenda, which means we've been doing this. 15 months, girl. That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's what it's all about. We're here to bring you the stories of people's lives who, I want you to watch this and I want you to think to yourself, wow, if they can do it, so can I. That's what we're all about. We want to bring you stories that you come and you go, wow, yes. Because the whole idea is when you hear somebody else's story, maybe that's the story that helps you to hit the button to go, the stop, not the read button that keeps on repeating itself, because that's not the way to do things. And today, let's talk about that, because we are bringing you this woman who, when I spoke to her, I was really taken by her. She's just a lovely young woman. And it's when we talked about the feeling that if you've ever been trapped in that endless cycle of diets and yearning to transform your health, this is the moment that you've actually been waiting for. Today, we have an incredible guest. Her name is Amy Wilson. She is here to reveal the secrets of lasting health and wellness that go far beyond the numbers on the scale. Get ready to be inspired and empowered by Amy's Revolutionizes the way you think about your well-being. Now's the time. Hello, Amy, and welcome today to Let's Get Real. I'm excited to have you
What an
here.
introduction.
I
That
love
was
it.
loved it. And thank you for calling me young. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. This is going to be a great conversation.
Amy, we're only as young as we feel, or as old as we want to make it.
Very true. Very true.
Uh,
I feel 21. I actually do.
well, well, I'm glad you're feeling 21 because at my hardest days I'm 25. So we're in the same category.
We're close. We're all together in
It's
this,
good.
Yeah. And it's a feeling. Those numbers mean nothing. It's what you do with yourself, regardless of those numbers, that means something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about, because this was my life at the beginning, many, many moons ago. But I had worked at a job for a number of years and I did a lot of traveling. And because I did a lot of traveling, I lived in a suitcase. My whole life was in hotels. I was touring around because I was a supervisor in ladies' wear clothing. And every 6 weeks I made it back home so I could change my clothes, basically. And when I finished that job, I was at my all-time highest in weight. And that is when I looked at myself and went, I was blown away, because I had never let myself, and I had never really dieted, and I had never really exercised. But that's when my life switched. So let's talk about that, because really some of this whole thing is really about mindset and how we move forward with everything.
Oh, it absolutely is about mindset. So what we have to realize is that The voices in our heads are a lot of times not nice. They are a bully. They are sometimes our own worst enemy. And we set ourselves up for failure. We set ourselves up with roadblocks. And I call it chasing skinny. We have been chasing skinny for years and thinking that's going to cause happiness, or think that's going to open all the doors for us. And what we really need to be focusing more on is health. And that would stop the yo-yo dieting that occurs. I mean, I know my first diet, seventh, eighth grade is when it
Oh,
first started. And it was, I'll be honest, I was the girl that all of a sudden that was in the clique and was out of the clique. So that started like, oh, why don't they like me? It must be I'm too fat. And that just started the whole kind of psyche of, well, to be liked, I needed to be skinny. And I wasn't, I have a butt and I have legs. I always have. And that started kind of like my relationship with food through junior high, high school. I went to college, swore to God I was not going to gain the freshman 15 because I was going to pharmacy school. And I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Started teaching aerobics and started in the fitness industry, which was great. But then I became what's called an exercise addict. Wasn't diagnosed until I blew out my back and my surgeon said, hey, you're an exercise addict. And I'm like, so what's so, it's not cigarettes, it's not alcohol, it's not drugs. How bad can this be? Not realizing that exercise addiction, just like any other addiction, comes with consequences. And for me, it was blowing my back out and having to have back surgery. You had thought I learned my lesson. No, I didn't. And it's just because we were going through, this was in the 80s. This was low fat craze. This was, you remember Susan Powter, Stop the Insanity, all those kind of things that we're still trying to chase skinny. And without realizing it, what we were doing was trying to out exercise a bad diet. We didn't know better. Atkins was around, high protein, low fat, you name it, all the different kind of fads. And it wasn't until I got into my 30s and 40s, and I'm a pharmacist and I'm a geriatric pharmacist, and starting to see kind of disease states that go along with this, but also my own journey of constantly yo-yoing. And as a fitness instructor too, you're in front of everybody.
Yes.
And there's an added pressure. And I was also what's called a master trainer for a program, and on videos and DVDs, and there's pressure to look a certain way. I will be honest, most of us fitness instructors have a poor relationship with food, and we work out too much and don't fuel ourselves. And so now we hit our 40s and 50s and we can't figure out, why are we gaining weight so fast? Why do we hurt? Why are we have brain fog? Oh, it must be menopause or perimenopause. But that's only part of the story. The other story is that we're not fueling our body correctly. We've been yo-yoing. We've decreased our metabolism because of decreasing our muscle mass. And as I'm working on me during this time, it was almost eye-opening and realizing that, you know what, I'm not the only one who has this issue. Whether you're an instructor or not, or you do 3 classes at the gym, or you think that you have to go. We just had Halloween yesterday. So I can't imagine how many people had candy bars or ate their kids' stuff and says, okay, I need to go do an extra class, or I'm going to go do so many burpees, or go run around the block, or I'm going to starve today and not eat a thing to make up for what I ate yesterday. And that relationship with food just weighs us down. And it takes up so much space in our head, in our lives, in our attitudes, that it's time that we need to break free of that we need to embrace what food can do for us, embrace how exercise can help us, and change, I want to say not change, and almost pivot our belief system so that we can, here we are in second half, I'm 53. This is the best time. I think 50s are amazing because we kind of can put back all of that comparison back when we were in, you know, the cliques and being better than this girl and that kind of thing. We've kind of come into and own our own individuality and who we are. And now is the perfect time to start working on who we are to get healthy. And what I say is to keep you out of my nursing homes, because that's the other thing I see is that it's lifestyle diseases that is a good majority of people coming into my nursing homes who are my age. I did admissions today, and half of them were born after 1965. That's just mind blowing. And a lot of it is nutrition. A lot of it is lifestyle diseases, diabetes, heart disease, things that we can do to prevent, and not only prevent, but reverse if you got that diagnosis.
Yeah.
And how awesome is it that we have the power to really change if we want to. I'm like, this fluffiness is not me. This feeling crazy is not me. This having a migraine every day wasn't me. Joint pain. And I'm like, no. This can't be menopause. I'm not resigning myself to feeling this way. No freaking way. I'm not meant to feel this way. And it was when I started looking at different things, it was realizing that it was my nutrition that I thought was good, but it wasn't. Knowing that just because something's healthy, it not necessarily is, and that underfueling is just as bad as overeating.
And isn't it important, because I learned this many years ago with my relationship with food, is when I would eat things that I really didn't feel good. Like sometimes you eat something because everybody's there and you sort of get in, you're in with the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So stuff gets put on your plate. Even you say, no, you sort of feel obligated and you go and you eat it. And then later you're bloated, you don't feel good. You get maybe headaches and all the rest of it. And it's when you can sort of look at foods and saying to yourself, well, I don't want to eat this because you know what? It doesn't make me feel good. So, you know, at this point, if you have that mindset that if it doesn't make me feel good, then it's not worth eating.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the thing is that a lot of people don't realize it's the food doing that.
Yeah.
They think, you know, oh, I must have overate or something wasn't cooked right. Or, you know, you don't think about it. Oh, maybe this food doesn't serve me. Maybe that's what's causing me to feel so bad, because we're good at rationalizing. We're good at, I want to say, making excuses for why do we feel this way. And the last thing that we think about is our food. A lot of my clients, one of the first things they say is that I didn't realize how bad I felt until I started feeling good, because we rationalize it. We normalize it.
And you know, Amy, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I've been really carefully watching what I eat, and I'm eating more now just for health. Yeah. But we've got I don't know about Canada, but we've got a huge problem in the United States with not getting any nutrition in what we're eating. Yeah. So how do you tell a person about that? You know, and it's not just these processed foods, which I don't eat any of those anymore at all, but even our soil that we're growing it in has been sprayed with chemicals. And they're taking all the minerals out of the dirt, and that's what we truly need to make our vitamins work. How do we get that across to people that, you know, you have to really look at what you're buying? And some of the stores, and I'm just going to throw it out there, Walmart's produce is horrible. It's coated with a peel. You know, the fruits are, which you cannot wash off, and that's a horrible chemical. How do we deal with something like that just in everyday life?
And I have to say baby steps, because, you know, it's great that you got rid of ultra processed food, because I'm going to say from anybody, that's the first thing. And let's get rid of the ultra processed foods, the stuff that has chemicals, the stuff that has additives, extra sugar. Absolutely. Then once we got, and we're there to look at the quality of food, we got rid of the ultra processed foods. Now we're going to go and dive deeper into the quality of food and do your research. Find out, okay, even if it says organic, sometimes it's not organic. There are ways to skirt it's crazy in the United States of what we allow to get away with.
Oh,
And
it's
it's
terrible.
amazing. It's amazing, and what we can coat things with and what we can do. And I always say, get a good vegetable cleaner to make sure that you're getting the waxes and everything else off. But it's also getting down to, hey, we need to eat real food. And I know everybody can't afford to go to Whole Foods and pay those prices, but there are other options. There are farmers markets, and there's I think it's called mixed. It's a produce that you can get that is, it may not be it's kind of like ugly produce. It may not be the best produce looking, but it's okay produce. And and there's ways that you can save money, because I know that's usually the biggest factor. And a lot of clients come, it's like, I can't get my paycheck to food, but there are things that we can do to make your quality of food better. There's things that we can do to get rid of the ultra processed foods. The big thing for females is we do not get enough protein. Whether you're vegan or not vegan, we do not get enough protein. And as we age, especially females, we don't absorb as much protein as we intake. So we have to take in more, because muscle is a commodity. Muscle is expensive. And the one thing that we do need to do as females is that we need to build the muscle, and we need to keep the muscle. And that also comes down to quality of food. It's like, you can't get that from Oscar Mayer. It just doesn't work that way.
Exactly. And for someone like me who doesn't eat meat, what is my next best option?
So are you vegan or vegetarian?
Vegetarian.
Vegetarian. So, okay. So do you do eggs and egg whites or not?
No. And there's
Okay.
so many things I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there is, broccoli has lots of protein. So you look at what you can, and, beans, legumes, and if you can do tofu is a great, and a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do tofu, but tofu is great because it takes on the flavor of whatever you make. And yeah, if you just have a block of tofu, that is pretty disgusting. It really is. But there's so many things. Yeah. There's so many things that you can do. And then some people say, well, what about Impossible Burger? What about those? Okay. That is ultra processed vegan food. It's just,
I can't eat that either. I can taste the chemicals in that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's vegan, vegetarian, but it's still not healthy. And then that's what people think, is that, oh, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I must be healthy. Lay's potato chips is vegetarian, but that doesn't mean that that's healthy. And it's looking as to what you're taking in and how does that serve your body. Your body is one big chemical reaction. We need fuel. We need the really good stuff to make sure that we feel amazing. Our body, I always say it's a car. So I want a Ferrari, Lamborghini, I want something that's really nice and high end, I'm going to pull up to the gas station, and I'm not going to fill it with regular, because I'm not going to make it down the block. Why do we think that we can fuel our body with subpar and that we're going to feel amazing?
That actually, when you bring up that analogy, it really surprises me of how many people will look after their cars by vacuuming and cleaning them and all the rest, but yet they turn around and they don't look after their own bodies by exercising, eating well, and even the manner of putting yourself together. Like, it just it blows my own mind.
Well, I think it's because there's so many things. I want to say analysis paralysis almost. There's so much stuff out in the market. When you get your car, you know exactly what kind of gas it takes for it to run. You get this body, and it doesn't come with a user's manual. You go out into Google, how do I lose weight? Or what do I do to lose my hips? Or how do I prevent hot flashes? And you're going to get so many different hits, so many different ideas and programs out there that it's almost mind-blowing that people are just like, I don't have time, I'm just going to go for what's easy. And understand and realizing that health can also be easy, but manufacturers don't make it that way. The media doesn't make it that way. Marketing absolutely doesn't make health that way. It doesn't sell. So you're going to get something that is bright packaged and beautiful to make you convinced that this is good. I mean, I love that I went to the grocery store several months ago and they had this end stand. It was all peanut butter crackers. And I'll be the first to admit, I used to love peanut butter crackers.
Me too.
I'm not really sure what that orange color is, but now that I'm a little smarter about these kind of things. But on it said great source of protein. Really? And if you didn't know any better, you would think, oh, well, I'll eat these. These are good snack because it says it's a great source of protein.
True.
When it really isn't. And it's just because we're not educated, and that is nobody's fault. That's what I'm gonna make sure people understand. It's not your fault. We are fed so much stuff on TV, on social media, and it's hard to sometimes get through that noise.
Yes. It's actually scary because when you go from a person who kind of didn't pay attention to someone who now I'm like reading everything.
It's like,
it is. And it's like, well, yeah, they said it didn't have this. Well, I got to put this back. Because, and I watched my daughter eat this past week and I'm 21, of course you can rebound usually really, really quick, but the sugar that was consumed, the sugar consumption just through coffee or coffee creamers, or, they had like cakes and ice cream, and I cut sugar out a couple months ago. And it's like, it's crazy because I know that they say that is more addictive than heroin.
Yeah, it lights up. It lights up the same centers in your brain as cocaine does.
Wow.
So when you eat sugar, and we don't even realize, I would challenge anybody, go in your refrigerator, look at your condiments, and look at the ingredients. It's amazing of what we put sugar in. And how this all started was back in the 80s when we went low fat. You had to replace fat with something to make it taste good. And it was sugar. So what happened in the 70s, we had heart attacks and people were dying of heart attacks. So the American Heart Association or someone came out and said, we got to get rid of fat. And marketing went on that and said, okay, everything's low fat, fat free. We probably all remember Snackwells and thinking, oh, we're eating all these cookies and cakes and it's healthy for us. Wrong. All the things that we know now. And you look at that, and that's where the sugar ended up. And now we have a epidemic of diabetes, of prediabetes.
Yes. That's scary.
And it's not just because of the, everybody says, well, it's sugar to blame. It is sugar, but it's because we've also went to processed food that has added sugar into it. So I don't want anybody to think, well, bananas, they have a lot of sugar. No. Bananas have micronutrients and fiber and things that you need that is much different than a Snickers bar, much different.
Yeah. And I want to ask you something about that, because I can remember my ex would always say, well, there's more sugar in this piece of fruit than in this candy bar. And was I right in saying that the sugar in a fruit is a different kind of sugar than processed sugar in a candy bar?
Yes. And it's, let's look at the whole picture too. Okay. So this has sugar and this has sugar. So Snickers and bananas, sugar. And someone says, well, sugar. Okay. I understand. Yes, you're going to get a blood sugar impact. Your sugar is going to go up a little bit, but let's look at how is this going to serve your body? A Snicker bar is not going to help your gut microbiome. A Snickers bar is not going to help with any micronutrients or macronutrients, your protein, fat, and carbohydrates. If anything, it's going to set you back. A banana is going to move you forward because it has those micronutrients. It's going to help your gut microbiome. It's going to help with certain chemical reactions that you need in your body. A Snickers bar, not so much. And that analogy of they're both sugar, it doesn't matter. It's the whole analogy of a calorie is a calorie. And I totally disagree with that too, because yes, a calorie is a calorie. We need to get away from calories because all calories is a energy expenditure, or how long it takes to take 1 degree Celsius energy up. I think there's a Kelvin, but it's a mathematical equation. Snickers bar, calorie wise, banana calorie wise, totally two different things. When you look at the macronutrients, the same thing. If you have a chicken, like if I have a Snickers bar, I think it's around 250, 300 calories. I could have a chicken breast, some of a baked potato, and a salad for pretty close to around there. And it's a whole different nutritional profile, much different.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. There's people now wanting to move forward in their life and realizing that it's now that maybe they are diabetic or pre-diabetic, as borderline is what they call it. And what do you suggest to them? How do they start their journey on to changing their life?
First of all, deep breath, because you're going to be thrown at everybody's opinion. And it really is. You're going to get your doctor's opinion, you're going to get your neighbor's opinion, your spouse's opinion, you're going to get all these opinions. So deep breath. What I tell everybody is that it comes down back to the basics. It comes back down to nutrition and exercise. Nutrition meaning real foods, getting proteins, fat, and carbohydrates. And then with exercise, it doesn't mean 2 to 3 hours. It means moving your body daily, and it also means building muscle. When you take it down to the basics and try not to get overwhelmed, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And then also, don't go for the easy button. I know it's so easy. We want this Amazon Prime. We want this in 2 days. We want it. We want to reverse things. We want to go in our phone and go boom, boom, boom. Okay, order. I'm just going to do a shake. We can talk Ozempic and Wegovy. There's all these things that are available that it's going to be the easy button, but it's not really the easy button. There are consequences for those easy buttons that you're not going to like down the road. I don't know about you. We're in the middle of our fork right here. It's like we can either go one path or go the other path. I want to go the path that is I'm vibrant and healthy. And I think that's what they want too, is that you don't want to replace one disease state for another disease state.
Absolutely.
And when we're working on the nutrition and working, just exercise for 30 minutes a day and then moving your body the rest of the day, because sedentary is the new cigarettes. It is. Sitting all day is the new cigarette smoking. And it doesn't mean that, you have to go running miles and miles and miles. It just means move. Get off your butt a little bit. If you have an Apple Watch, it's going to tell you every hour, move your tush. And you should, because that's what we want to do. We want to keep the body moving. Our body is meant to be in motion, and our body is meant to have good nutrition. It's not meant to have all these other things. And you're going to get things that say healthy. You're going to get things that say diabetic approved, or that this is good to reverse diabetes, or it's a shake with some packets. No, we have to go back to the real food, not the chemical stuff.
It's so important that people don't realize about having real food in their gut, because it really does hold you longer. Yeah. And all the things of eating an apple, the fact that you're getting your jaw to be working at the same time. So that the fact is what they don't realize is when you chew a little longer, it has time to go up to the brain. Tell the brain that you're eating, and that it takes time so that your stomach feels satisfied. Drinking the water. We'll talk about fluids, because it's such an important part of everything. But let's talk about some of the important things about moving. You don't have to become an exercise guru to get something done. Well, people, you hear the comments, and I hear it a lot when I'm out and people go, "Oh, you must exercise 20 times a day or for
hours.
How do you do it?" And I'm going, no, not really. It's just that I commit myself to a daily regime of something.
Yeah.
Whether it's walking or yoga, there's always something to move you around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so the key. So, stop worrying about how much you need to do and just do.
Yeah. And just start. I mean, and I'll have two different sets of clients. I'll have those who've never worked before, and then those who work out too much. So I have two different sets. The ones who never worked out before are not sure how to start. First of all, you don't need a gym membership. You can do these things at home. You just need 30 minutes a day. Pretty much that's what you need is 30 minutes of a good section of getting some sweat, building some muscle. The rest of the day, you can just keep moving. Then I have my other clientele who work out all the time and can't figure out why they're not getting results and why they're getting bigger. And for them, I have to have them back it off a little bit. And that's hard. When you've been trying to outwork out or out train a bad diet, and you've always said, oh, if I eat this, I got to work out more. Or if I don't work out, I'm going to gain weight. That is very hard to come. And it's almost harder for them to come back a little bit and to back it off than somebody who's starting a brand new program. Believe it or not, because they're so used to being like, oh, well, if I don't do 3 hours, it's like almost you can see it in their head and just going, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight. And I always tell people, it's like, if what you were doing was working, you wouldn't be here.
True.
Yeah.
True. Very true. Very true.
So let's talk about the diet syndrome of it all, of where you begin.
Once again, deep breath. Because we have been programmed to say diets are what we need to do. Diets are the end all be all. And if you think about it, it's a great industry, right? It's like you diet, you gain it back, you shine back up, it's like this never ending vicious cycle. And no wonder it's a $3 billion industry and everybody wants a piece of that pie and they want to keep you in that piece of pie. And they want a lot of places don't want you to succeed. They want you to constantly have that crutch that you need them all the time.
Yeah.
And we need to break that. We need to break that. One, you need to be on a diet because you don't. That actually sets you up for failure. When you don't eat enough, you are going to burn muscle. Will you burn a little bit of fat? Yes. But the diet industry wants you to think that, oh, all you're going to do is burn fat. You're going to be great. We know that we get down to a certain size, we can't starve anymore. And then we start eating. And then all of a sudden the weight comes back on. For females, that is just so hard on our psyche. We don't feel that we're successful. We feel like that we're a failure because it must be me. And the diet industry tells you, well, you didn't have enough willpower. Willpower is BS. If you are fueling your body with what you need, you don't have to have willpower because you're fulfilled. You don't have these blood sugar spikes going up, down, starving. You don't have these binge cycles because you're giving your body what it needs. And if we can start breaking those habits, those belief systems, the sky's the limit on what we can do. And just think, when you don't have to think about dieting anymore, when you don't have to think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to a party, I just don't know how I'm going to control myself. Or Halloween, how am I going to control myself around all this candy? It's going to set me up for a binge. Because when you start fueling your body, you don't want the candy because your body's not going, you better eat. You need to eat something. You need to eat something because you're starving itself. It's going to go for sugar because that's the fastest form of energy. Mm-hmm. And I won't say we're setting ourselves up for failure. The diet industry has set us up for failure. And we need to say, peace out. We're done with you. It's time to focus on health. And when we start focusing, I say, quit chasing skinny, start working on health, start working on being strong and taking care of your body to prevent and reverse disease. It's mind blowing when that switch just kind of flips in your head and you realize that, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I feel stronger. My inflammation is going down because dieting does cause inflammation. Ultra processed food causes inflammation. So when your inflammation goes down, you can think clearer, you're sleeping better, hot flashes go down. There's just so many positives of breaking that diet cycle.
It's so true.
And I think of the conditioning too about dieting. It's like, I can remember my mother at Weight Watchers, years and years ago, they'd take you in, you'd take off as many clothes as you could, they'd weigh you. And there were times that she would come back humiliated because she 2 pounds.
Yeah. And it's all about the scale, and the scale, all it does is measure your gravity to this earth. And I try to explain to people is that they're like, but muscle weighs more than fat. No, a pound's a pound. It is. That's just it's just the way it is. A pound is a pound. Now, volume is a different story. So a lot of my clients in the first 6 weeks don't lose that much weight, but they lose 20 plus inches.
Oh, wow.
And that's amazing because they lost inflammation. They lost body fat and kept their muscle. That is huge because it's usually the opposite. You keep your body fat, lose the muscle. They're actually keeping their muscle. And then, yes, eventually the scale does go down. But I mean, do you wear that number on top of your head of what your scale number is? You don't. But but when you get to a different size, you're like, woohoo, I made it to a different size. It doesn't matter what the scale says. What matters is what the tape measure says, how you feel. Do you feel less bloated? Do you feel less inflamed? Are you able to button up your jeans? Are you able to wear something else besides, the leggings and the large sweatshirt because you're hiding yourself? Yeah. And when you feel confident and you feel good, and I don't want anybody to say, oh, well, you don't have a weight problem. I've been up there and I've been up and down, up and down. This is the first time for 3 years, I've been able to stay steady, which is huge. And understand that we're all different body types, and to embrace who you are and your body type and feel good in the clothes that you're wearing, no matter what size you are. That's huge. And that's what we need to work. That's what we need to work for.
And I'll tell you, from somebody who worked in the ladies fashion industry, I used to remember bringing women clothing to their dressing rooms and used to, let's see, if she was a size 16, when I would bring in a 14, 16 or whatever, she would be sitting there and going, oh, no, I'm only a 10 or a 12. And it was like, but you can always see when the clothes are so tight. It's like when you wear the size that's appropriate for you, you look better. And, we got to get out of that mindset of worrying about how much we weigh and how much isn't it about how you feel in your own skin that really counts?
Yeah. And once you start, like I said, losing inflammation and not worrying about that scale, your posture's better. There's so many other, they're non-scale victories. There's so many other things that are going on that it's, I want to say it's like breathtaking, but it's just like a weight's lifted off. And when you realize that, hey, I'm actually eating, I'm not starving myself anymore. I feel good. I'm sleeping. And I like the way that I look in these clothes. I think that's priceless. I think it's absolutely priceless. And we know, especially in the United States, you could be a 4 in one thing and be a 10 in something else. So it's like, it doesn't matter what the size is. If it looks good, wear it.
And mental health comes into this too when we're tricking ourselves with we have to weigh this, or we have to wear that, or we can't eat this, or we can't eat that. And then all of a sudden it's like, that's where you get anorexia or bulimia that comes into play with some of these mind games that we played in the conditioning over the years.
It does. And it puts us in a bad, I would say, down a rabbit hole and downward spiral. And what I find with a lot of my clients, especially when they start being able to eat and they can start thinking better and they start feeling better, everything else kind of snowballs effect in a positive direction. All of a sudden they have more energy, things are going better at work. And when we feed our body what it needs, it helps us mentally. We have our gut microbiome in check, which also helps us mentally. And it helps with the depression. It helps with anxiety. It helps with self-confidence and energy. When you're energetic, you just feel better. And people kind of gravitate towards you when you are in a positive mood. When you don't feel good, you're beating yourself up. Woe is me. That's not the person you want to be around. You don't even want to be around yourself when you're that way. And you're just like, oh, why can't I? Right? It's like,
how can I get away from me?
Yeah, exactly. And so when you can start lighting up the room, and because you're lighting up your internal, your internal flame, things just open up. Things just open up for you, and we just don't realize that is all connected to how we feel our body.
Yes, so true. So true. And I still sometimes struggle with people not realizing that this is the only thing we get till the end of our lives.
Yeah.
You really need to take care of this if you do want that long, healthy, and in a life where you can walk when you're 70 years old, or you can bend over when you're 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I tell Glenda, my dad's 84, and he'll come down to my house with his pressure washer and wash my house. And I'm like, Dad,
Awesome.
you don't have to do that. He goes, no. He says, the key to life, laugh at yourself and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a lot of people don't realize is that they think, I just got the diagnosis of high blood pressure. I just got a diagnosis of prediabetes or diabetes. You didn't just get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's been festering for a while. And what you do in your 20s finally catches up to you in your 40s and 50s. So
The good old 20s.
Everybody says, oh, I drank as much as I wanted to, and I ate fast food and I didn't gain weight. I always say you borrowing from your future self. It's going to catch up with you eventually.
I like
and
that.
It does.
I do too. I've never heard that.
It absolutely
is so true. And I can tell you also that one of the key things is that has hit me many times in my life is if you're not in shape and your body isn't at its top, when things happen, an accident or something, your body will not revert back as easily.
Correct.
It will take you a much longer time, if at all.
Yeah.
Because so many times an accident will knock you out and you can't even get back because you haven't looked after your body through that time to get to that point.
As we get older, there's something called frailty, and it's your muscle mass, it's your bone density, it's how you're able to move. And you'll see people. I mean, I'll go back to your high school reunion. You're like, oh my gosh, they look amazing. And everyone's like, we're the same age. What? They look like they're 20 years older. And that's kind of a frailty thing. And that's my issue right now with the Ozempic and Wegovy, the injections for diabetes, which is a great thing. But when you're using it as a boutique drug, as a medication for weight loss, you have to be very careful, because if you are not fueling your body and you're just using this medication that it helps with decreasing your appetite, what we're seeing right now is the flip, once again, of increasing body fat and decreasing muscle mass. So yes, you are getting down to a size. Yes, you might be helping some diabetes and some cardiac markers, but you're increasing your frailty markers. And that is aging you.
Wow,
and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's huge. Wow. Well, you're certainly giving us a lot to really look at, and it's it's so much of it is really common sense, but here's the biggest problem: majority of people don't have common sense. So as I say, one of the important things that I found through life is to be more aware, first of all, of your own body.
Yeah.
Learn that when you put something in your mouth, learn how does your body react to it in a positive or negative, or eat slow enough that you allow your body to feel it. Drinking the fluids so that your body gets dehydrated all the time and don't allow other things. What are the other things that we can tell people that will help them through so they don't become this yo-yo dieting, the frailty, all the other things as life is going on?
Yeah. And like I said, I think sometimes we think it's common sense because we're like, oh yeah, we live this. And a lot of people haven't. They listen to whatever commercial there is or believe whatever social media, and understanding that going back to what we did a long, long time ago, back to the basics, real food, moving our body, especially females, if you want results, you can't have a huge glass of wine every night. Yeah, once a week, okay, but every night is going to cause issues. So go back to the basics. Go back to eating and fueling your body with real food, because those I would say biofeedback mechanisms like leptin, ghrelin, their hormones get turned off with ultra processed foods. So we're saying taste the food. Well, if it's junk food, it may taste really good and real food doesn't taste. Once you start reversing the process and getting rid of the junk food, blueberries taste like candy. It's a banana is just awesome. And then when you go back to the ultra processed foods, like you said with the Impossible Burger, you can taste the chemicals. You can taste those. So it's understanding that it takes time. It's not Amazon Prime. It's not Instagram. It's not, scrolling up and swiping and not to go, oh, this new thing. Let me try this. Oh, this new thing. Let me try this program or let me try this. If it's something that you won't let your daughter or granddaughter do, then why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm. And one of the things for me is I learned to stop when I was full.
Yeah.
And then I might get hungry a few hours later and I just grazed a little bit. Yeah. I wouldn't gorge. I wouldn't overeat. I would I'm full. Yeah. And instead of that, well, you didn't eat everything on your plate. Well,
yeah, we don't need to be the clean plate club. And that's why when I coach, we do what's called tracking macros. We want to make sure that you are getting enough protein. We want to make sure you're getting enough carbohydrates and fat, because we all are individual. We all have different nutrition needs. And when you kind of have a ballpark of where you need to be, you know what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's there's some crazy, it really bothers me when I watch like parents make their kids finish everything on
everything.
Their plate. And they're like that. Yeah, and they're little kids, and I keep thinking, well, their little bellies are going to get full, but their parents are force feeding them these huge portions.
Yeah.
And that, that's got to make an impact someplace.
Yeah, because they'll grow up with the clean plate club and have that. And kids have a natural, they haven't screwed up their biofeedback mechanisms yet. They know when they're full and they need to listen to that. Yeah.
So important. And that's the whole thing we need. Our body will tell us anything we want to know.
Yes.
If we're in tune with it, from what feels good to what hurts, what to stay away from, what to do, what not to do, what time, and no one sits still enough to listen.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Well, isn't it funny? We're all sitting around too much, but yet we're not sitting still enough to listen.
Yeah. Distractions, TV, baseball games.
And that's why one of the things that I don't like is the phones at the meal table. Anything like that, TV while you're eating. I grew up in the old-fashioned way that we all sat around the table and we had our dinner and we talked and we ate, and that was it. And you realized what was going in. Now, nowadays, there's majority of households where there's too much. Your phone is in your hand, and you're not even realizing what's going in. You're just busy eating.
Yeah, there's no. It's called mindful eating. Understanding what you're eating, what it tastes like you said, making sure you're chewing so it goes to your brain. There's all these little things, and when you're on your phone or you're watching TV, before you know it, you're like, "Oh, I ate. It's gone.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that." Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we're getting closer to the end of our show, it's amazing how fast time goes by when you're having fun. What are some of give us a few key hints of what we can do to change our diet, make changes in our own lives?
The big thing is, once again, go for real food. So shop the perimeter of your grocery store. Stay away from the inside. And yes, you absolutely can have frozen vegetables, not frozen meals, because those aren't healthy. And no matter what people tell you, they're not. Frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, that's great. The other thing that we really didn't talk about is sleep. Make sure that you're getting sleep. We wear not getting sleep with a badge of honor. Oh, I only need 3 or 4 hours. And all right, that's great. No, because when you don't get sleep, your cortisol levels go higher. You're decreasing your insulin sensitivity. You're increasing your insulin resistance. And we think that sleep is being lazy. that getting 8 hours, 9 hours is not productive. I disagree. You will be more productive during the day if you get that rest. So we talked about the phone. Put that phone away. Get rid of those blue lights. Have something that's called sleep hygiene. Which is a sleep habit. So every night you do the same thing before you go to bed. Have the temperature in your room a little bit cooler. Those are things that can help you fall asleep. And really work on that, getting quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours. And that will help you, one, so you're not starving all day, because when you don't get enough sleep, you reach for the candy, you reach for more coffee, and you're constantly pushing that cortisol. Well, hello, females. Guess what cortisol does to us? It causes that muffin top that we just don't want. And there's, so why are we trying to burn the candle at both ends when that's not serving us?
True. Very true. And it sounds so easy if we would just practice awareness, and so many people don't, and I've been guilty of it. And everything you're telling me so resonates with me,
Yeah.
and if we can pick up a bad habit, why can't we pick up the good ones?
Good heads. And I love Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's, just 1% better every day. What I hate about the Biggest Loser TV show is that people go in and they change everything that they're doing, and they have this, they're working out all the time, and they change their whole entire lives. Well, they didn't learn. They had someone else doing it for them. And then they go back to normal workload, normal lifestyle, when no one's telling them what to do, and that's all they have. They're set up for failure. So don't think that everything I'm saying, you're like, oh my God, this is just so much. How am I supposed to do all this? Pick one thing. It might just be eating real food and slowly getting rid of the processed foods. Once you master that, then work at getting more protein. Then work at, okay, well, I can do that, and I can also start moving my body a little bit more. And when you take it in the baby steps, it's more doable than being like that. I mean, think about it. January 1st, what does everybody do? Okay, clean out the cupboard. Let's go to the gym. And then the joke was always at the gym is that, oh, just wait for 2 weeks and they'll all be gone. Because people try to do everything all at once, and your mind rebels, your body rebels, your habits rebel. Take the time to build the habits and just focus on getting 1% better every day.
I used to laugh because this was me years ago, when you got it back into the gym, you worked out so hard the next day, or it wasn't the next day, it was 2 days after, that your body was so sore you couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
So, this is a proven method of what I say. I even say to some people, when they have not exercised at all, go to the gym, walk around for a few minutes and leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fact remains that if you walk away and you're happy when you leave, then you're going to want to come back. When you go away, go in there and you push yourself too much, then you're going to be exhausted. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be left with, your mind is going to think of it. When you think of the gym, you're going to think of it as hard and then
negative. Yeah.
Go back, that negative thing stays within you. And then when it's time to go back, all of a sudden you don't have the time. You start hemming and hawing. And before you know it, you're off of it before you even got on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we can replace everything with a positivity, I always say, people say, what's a secret sauce? And I'm like, there is no secret sauce. You are the secret sauce.
Yes.
If you want it, you will figure out how to make it work with your lifestyle. You'll figure out how to make it work with time. You will figure it out. You are the secret sauce, because there's no magic pill. There's no magic anything. It's just getting back to the basics and doing the things that your body needs, and understanding that it takes time, and that's okay.
I love it. Well, you make a lot of sense, and I love to hear that, because you know what? I am not one for myself that believes in you got to find these pills that will make you not hungry and all the rest of it. Let's start, doing, and there are things out there to make life easier. If you don't have the time, you can buy the cut of veggies that makes it a little easier. Buy the small little carrots that are already in the packages, that they're little, that you can just grab it out of the fridge and just eat it. There's so many ways that we can take shortcuts, but still eat well. So
Yeah.
those are the shortcuts that we need to take. Amy, it was absolutely wonderful. How can our people get in touch with you, or anybody watching this, or maybe somebody who's going to share it with somebody else who needs to see this?
The best way, because you can get all my socials and everything from my website, and that's amykwilson.com. That's AMYKWILSON.com. And I have a free download for you if you go to amykwilson.com/podcast. There is a free download for you. And I would love if you hit that good old Instagram follow button, because sometimes that's just the only way to get out there. So yeah, if you go to amykwilson.com, you can get all of that information.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
We'll make sure that check that out. And there's nothing nicer than a person who really is speaking what everybody needs to. And even some of our Carrie Cobb-Hover has been watching, and she agrees that you are amazing. And so do I. I think you are awesome. And I believe, because you talk such sense, and I love it when people talk the way it needs to be. We just got to realize that we don't need anything special.
Mm-mm.
We got it all there, right?
Yeah, we have the power. You are the secret sauce. Yeah.
Great message. Nicole, what do you have to say about today's session?
This was a great conversation today, Amy, and the fact that you made it easy. There's no challenges to do this or get up at this time, or it's just common sense mentality. And I think if we go back to that common sense and understand we have one body. We just have one body, and that's all we get this time around. And I wasn't always the best to my body, lack of sleep and junk and drinking and sugar and fast food. But then it dawned on me, I don't like this feeling. I feel heavy, like you say, bloated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I turned it around. I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but the difference that it's made in my life, and I really noticed it this past week having company where there was processed food and there was a lot of sugar, and I wasn't sleeping as well. And so last night when I went to bed, I started eating after they left better food, and I got 8 straight hours of sleep instead of broken sleep. I got more done today than I was like, my gosh, look at me. I am so productive. It makes sense, though. It makes sense to throw in the sleep and the good food and the water and the mental health. And if there's something that's bothering you, reframe it to a positive.
Yeah.
And you've made it. I love anyone. Common sense is my favorite thing in the world now. And this was so great to learn this from you, Amy. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very, very welcome.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us today and for staying through this, because it's really some of them, one of the most important messages that we can ever hear about respecting and loving yourself. And you have to be worth it, because if you don't do it to yourself first, you're not going to be enjoying life, and other things will creep in, because they do. Time only prevails for a certain length of time before something else knocks us down if we don't look after ourselves. So remember, that is the highest form of self-love that we could ever have. So Amy, thank you for joining us today on Let's Get Real. We want to ask everybody to share this. If you're finding somebody is going around in circles and they need to hear this message, please share us. But don't forget to give us a little loving as well. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today. And for everybody else, it's your day. Start now. Don't wait till the new year. This is your time right this minute. Thank you all.